The man everyone's been waiting for to come on as board as the president general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And first, Brian, I want to ask you a simple question. Are you wearing a watch?
Yes.
What time is it, please?
Right now?
Yeah.
A few minutes after 10.
Do you realize in 20 more minutes you will have a longer career than I did as the Toronto Maple Leaf general manager? So I want to be the first to congratulate you on that.
Well, we're losing 5-0 in Buffalo, so don't be so sure.
Okay. Don't answer the phone for 20 minutes. How about that? Anyway, Brian, as you say, great to have you in town. I know last year at the Hall of Fame when you were here with the Anaheim Ducks to present a Stanley Cup ring to the Hall, people were asking about the Toronto job. You were always up front. You couldn't, be totally honest because you're still under contract in Anaheim. But you said it's like the Vatican. If you're a Catholic, that's what being with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You used comparisons like that. What's it been like the first couple of months?
Well, it's been wonderful. It was my wife that just bought the suite there for the Flyers game. Jennifer, stand up, please. Come on, stand up. Yeah. So it's been fabulous. People have been great. I think people understand we got some work to do on the hockey club, and it's going to take some time. But it's a great city. We've been treated wonderfully since we got here, and it's just like pinch me. This is a dream job if you work in hockey.
So Jennifer being new, is she looking for people to go to the game with her, or you think you're okay for that?
No, we're going to use that for a different fundraiser now.
Okay, good out. How about Joe Nieuwendyk brings 3 Stanley Cup rings. He's up here earlier with 3 different organizations. Yourself, you won a Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks. Where are we here in Toronto? People are saying, look, we'll do whatever it takes. How do you go about making this thing happen, and how long will it take?
Well, first off, with Joe Nieuwendyk, there's parts of this job when you come in and take over a team. There's a lot of things you have to redo, and you got to tear it down to the foundation and build it back up. But we're fortunate here that we've got a couple pieces in place that I don't have to go look for. We've got a good coaching staff. We've got Joe Nieuwendyk. We've got some strong front office people, and to see Joe here talking the way how popular he is and how respected he is in this marketplace, to have him on our staff, I think is a great plus. The problem with where we are with our team here is that everyone here has been waiting. For some people, it's 1967. For some people, they bought season tickets in 1975, and everyone's been waiting, and I can't change that. The only things I can change are the things that changed since the day I was hired. And we have a lot of holes in our hockey club. There's a lot of things that have to be fixed. Ownership has given me the tenure to fix this, and we just need some patience. We'll get it right. The number one thing we need to do, I think, is right off the bat, we got to get more physical. I'm sick of watching this team get pushed around.
So in the short term, Brad May was a key addition in that regard. And what can we expect at the trade deadline? Because I think some people are expecting a lot. Others are just expecting you to get rid of everybody.
Well, getting rid of everybody doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. I mean, we've got some players here. I think the hardest thing to do in hockey is to evaluate players on a team that's struggling. If you go in and watch a young defenseman on a team that's struggling, you come away and say, I remember watching Eric Brewer when he was playing in the American League on a team that was struggling, and I came back and said he'll never play. He's been in the league for 10 years since then. And so I think to evaluate players on a team, we have guys that I think will be better as our team gets better. So trading everybody doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We're going to look to make some changes, to look to get some younger people in here and maybe change the mix of our team. Everyone knows my teams play I like skill in the top 6 forwards, and I like belligerence and hostility in the bottom 6 forwards. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Well, that style as well. I know in Anaheim you got to hire your own coach in Randy Carlyle. In Vancouver you inherited a coach in Mike Keenan that didn't work out at that particular time. And here, Ron Wilson, you have a history, but he wasn't the actual guy you hired here. Why is he the right guy for Brian Burke's Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, I think he's a brilliant guy. I think Ronnie's a real bright coach to look at. He's got 1,000 games in the NHL. He's had success. He's had an expansion team. I think that's an important thing as far as what we want and what we need here. He's had a struggling young group. He's taken a group that didn't know how to win and turned them into something that could win. Then he's had an elite team. He went to the finals in Washington. He had an elite team in San Jose. These are all steps that we're going to have to take to reach our goal, to have that struggling part, to be a better team than be an elite team, and then finally play for a championship. So he's handled a team at every stage in that development, and I think that's critical. And I like the style we play. You know, we talk about this. We want to entertain you. We know our tickets are not inexpensive. We know that. We know we're not going to win every night. So we want you to walk out of the rink and say that was a good game to watch, or that team's fun to watch. So we try to provide a series of episodes from puck drop to win that entertain you, whether that's goals, fights, hits. We try and make it a special night for you. So and Ronnie plays that way.
Well, I know as well, you're two guys, Ronnie and you, Americans, he played for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he was born in Canada, went to the States. You're an American that embraced Canada with the Vancouver Canucks, married a Canadian, back in Toronto, what you called the Vatican of the National Hockey League. Gary Bettman was in town yesterday, and there aren't a lot of Vaticans south of the border, and I'm wondering what you think when you used to work at the NHL head office, thriving Canadian franchises and so many American franchises that aren't doing so well. Should there be more teams up here, maybe even another one not too far from the ACC or in Hamilton or Kitchener or wherever?
Well, the notion of a second team in Canada, that's out of my pay grade. You know, that's an ownership level issue. I'm amazed at the facility with which people offer that as a solution. Let's put a second team in Toronto. I mean, they say there's 2 baseball teams in Chicago. Well, I think there's 11 million people in Chicago. There's 4.5 in Greater Toronto. It's easy to say that. They say, well, there's 2 baseball teams in New York. Well, I think there's 22 million people in an hour's drive from World Trade Towers. It's real simple to say that. It's a lot. You got to do the research on it and see if it works. Our ownership group has said that if the research indicates it works, they won't stand in the way. But it's amazing to me how people toss it out there. Say, oh, we need a second team in Toronto. Okay, whatever business you're in, let's put a competitor 3 doors away from your goddamn business and see how you do.
Well, in some ways, though, you look at where you played in Anaheim, a deal was struck to put the Anaheim Ducks relatively close in the LA Kings territory. So, I mean, that's one example. They hold 2 teams.
Great example. There's 25 million people between Santa Monica and the Mexican border. There's more people in California than there are in Canada. Great example, Gordo.
Well, how many hockey fans are those 25 million people?
And both the teams in LA and Anaheim, they both lose money. Another great example.
Well, I don't care about the losing money. You'd make money here.
I care about losing money.
Well, anyway, I just think if you have 2 teams in LA and Anaheim, it's a good question about having another team in Canada down the road. But obviously for the Toronto Maple Leaf fans, they're talking about the big picture. You mentioned the coach, the trade deadline. What do you expect next year's Conn Smythe Theatre? Where do you expect the team to be?
Well, we've got to be better than we are now. I mean, it's not acceptable the way we're playing. It just isn't, and it's not acceptable to not have an identity. You know, like if you're going to get beat, go down kicking and screaming. You know, the way we're playing right now is not acceptable, and we've had a couple good games in a row. We had a tough one last night where we played better. We won 2 games in a row, and we played better last night, but lost in overtime. And I'm getting tired of it. And we're going to see how much change we can make if you look at it. And part of the frustration for Leaf fans, I would feel worse if I had sat here. I've been here for 90 days or so. If 30 trades had happened during that time, I'd be embarrassed up here. I'd say, well, geez, we should have done more. But I think there's been 3 trades since I got here. There just aren't trades in our league anymore. And one of them was for a backup goaltender, for God's sake, Matthew Guerin. A backup goalie. That was headline news. A backup goalie. So it's hard to make deals. It'll get better at the deadline. Things will accelerate a little bit. And we'll take a run at some free agents from college and junior. We'll try and do some stuff in the summer, and we'll try to get better.
Well, you won a Stanley Cup in Anaheim with great goaltending. Is the goaltending good enough here?
Which night?
Well, tonight I'd say no. Being down 5-0 to Buffalo. In general, in the big picture.
Well, it's not good enough every night. I mean, if you want to be a number 1 goaltender in our league, you got to be able to handle a workload and play 60 games at a high level. Vesa Toskala hasn't shown he can do that yet. Like, he's given us some. He's given us some great games, and he's given us some clinkers. And from my perspective, that's not the definition of a starting goaltender. And to me, being good every 3rd night isn't enough. So I think he's got to change his practice habits a little bit. I don't think he practices hard enough. And we need better goaltending. But we need lots of things. It's not just that one.
And the last thing, because there are so many things on the agenda, the summertime, whether it's Jay Bouwmeester or anybody else, what is it that you think you can sell about the Toronto Maple Leafs to the top free agents out there that so far, by and large, we haven't been able to secure here?
Well, we've had a problem. Our franchise has had a problem attracting free agents, and that's why we got caught up in all these no-trade clauses. That's what we had to do to get people to come here. I'm not sure that's going to change with the first year here, coming in a partial year. I don't think we have to sell this city. I think it's one of the great cities in the world. And we're going to tell people this is the vision. If you want to be part of it, the turnaround here is going to be special. Once a team gets it fixed and turns around, I said this at my press conference, the guy that wins the cup here, they're going to name schools after him. That's how important hockey is. And that's what we're going to tell the players. If you want to be part of that, it'll be special.
Well, you met our daughter, and hopefully she goes to the Brian Burke Academy when high school starts about 5 or 10 years down the road. Brian, like you said, welcome to Toronto. You have 20 minutes are up. You've passed my record. All the best. Brian Burke.